Hey everybody, I'm Jason Creel, and today I want to talk to you about fertilizer and talk to you about what I would consider to be intelligent fertilizer, or at least ask that question. And let me show you the fertilizer and then tell you what makes it intelligent, or at least maybe the people who created it were intelligent, not the fertilizer itself. That would be more of the line I would take. So let's get started. All right, so if you've been with me a while on the channel, you know that I've used Harold's fertilizer, and this is a Harold's 3806 blend. And you'll see what it looks like. And I've talked about it before, but I've got some information here on a sheet of paper I'm going to show you to present this to you and show you what I'm trying to accomplish. So maybe you've been following me. I'm trying to grow grass here. I've had about 3 acres cleared off, and what we did was we plugged Bermuda grass. So let me show you kind of what it's looking like right now. Now, just so happens I plugged it on the hottest, driest week of the year. I don't think I'm exaggerating with that. We've been around 100 degrees and you know, very little rain. But here's sort of what it's looking like. I was able to keep it watered to some degree, not as good as I'd like. And you've got a lot of it that's starting to finally take roots. We put this out about 9 or 10 days ago. So you've got green starting to show up. Well, I put this grass out on like August the 9th or something. I'm in Alabama, so I've got a little bit of time left to grow grass. It's still hot, and I want to see how much of this Bermuda I can grow before the fall comes and before it settles in for winter. And then, you know, hopefully next year I can get the whole lawn covered. So I need to really push this with some nitrogen to get it to grow. So that's where this fertilizer comes in. This is what I put out for my customers, for at least for most of them, on my Bermuda and Zoysia lawns. It's 3806, meaning it's 38% nitrogen. We went over this before, but the way it was taught to me is on a 50-pound bag, if it's 38% nitrogen, you just cut that number in half, and so there's 19 pounds of nitrogen in this bag. Well, as you can see what it looks like, this is what is called the Polyon fertilizer, not the white one. The white one's the quick release fertilizer. The green colored ones is the Polyon, meaning it's polymer coated, and that's just the name it's branded under. But a polymer coating meaning that it's going to break down slowly over time. Now, that's why I want to show you this chart and show you what it says, and talk to you about why this is a pretty cool fertilizer. So my Harold's rep put this together for me, and they have some software they use, and you can put the information in. So you'll see here, he put in here 1 acre to treat. The fertilizer analysis 3806, like we already showed you, 3806. And then it is 87% Polyon and 13% quick release. So I'm assuming that means 87% of those, and I'm not going to count, 87% of these are green and 13% of them are white. Now, you know, a lot of fertilizer, you think, why does fertilizer cost different amounts of money? I was going to tell you, this is more expensive than some of the cheap fertilizers you might buy at a big box store, at a feed and seed store. And when you put it out, this fertilizer, you see how it says product longevity, 16 weeks. So I'm gonna get 16 weeks out of this. So what a lot of people do is they'll put fertilizer out, and then they come back 4 weeks later and put more out, and 4 weeks later and put more out, and 4 weeks later and put more out. So that's why it came up, you know, it being intelligent. The problem with quick release is sometimes a lot of it gets wasted because you're putting out more than the grass can actually use. And if you put it out too early, you know, it may before the grass is ready to use it, when it's too cold, you may waste some of it. If you put it out too late, you waste some of it. Well, the way this works, if you'll see here, so let's just say that we're putting it out on August the 12th, and it's already past that, but if you put this out on August the 12th, this chart shows you how much nitrogen is going to be released and how much is going to be remaining based on the numbers you put in here. So application rate, I believe that means it's 2.5 pounds of nitrogen per 1,000 square feet. So at that rate, 2.5 pounds per 1,000 square feet, on the first week, it's going to provide 0.37 pounds of nitrogen per 1,000 square feet to the lawn, leaving you with 2.13. The next week, it's going to give you 0.16. and that's what's remaining. Then 0.16, that's what's remaining. And as you see, it's going to slowly go down. Now, I think this would, I'm assuming this factors in the weather and other things, because you can see what happens. Let's say you get down here to December the 16th, 0.02. Well, why is it only releasing 0.02? Well, you know, there's not as much left in, you know, there's only 0.6 left after that. But you can imagine what the weather's going to be like. So I picture it like this, the way I kind of understand it. Say, you know, if I give my kids a piece of candy, let's say they got a piece of hard candy and they just sits there on the countertop, you know, how long will it last? Well, it'll last for years. But whenever they put it in their mouth, then it starts to release. You know, it starts to get smaller and they start to taste it. Well, what happens with this polymer coating in cold weather just honestly doesn't do a whole lot. But when the weather gets warm and it gets water, then it starts to break down and it starts to release. So the hotter it is, it's going to release quicker. So when it gets cold weather, you know, I'm in January, 0.01, 0.01, 0.01, and that's good because the grass can't really do much with it at that time. But then as the weather starts to warm, you see we get into March, goes up to 0.02. Now there's not that much left. But you can see where, you know, April 13th, 0.04, it's releasing more. Now, the later we get started here, let's say we didn't put it out till October, which I'm not recommending, but then that would leave a lot more heading into next spring, and it would, you know, I would imagine these numbers would be a lot higher because there would be a lot more nitrogen remaining. But since we're using a lot of the nitrogen up before we get to the end of October, that means there's not a whole lot left next spring. But like I said, it is going to give my grass that little bit of boost next spring, because, you know, there's going to be some nitrogen that's still there. And I know this for a fact. I mean, I know you can come back months later and still find these little green pearls. Now, they're not as big as they are now because, you know, they begin to break down with the heat and the weather. But anyway, so that's how it works. That's intelligent fertilizer. And you can think, how would that be useful? You know, golf courses, nurseries, on your own lawn. Well, you know, you can get you don't have to get 87% slow release fertilizer. You can get 100% slow release fertilizer. And there's other brands out there besides the Polyon. But just think about the way that works for a golf course. If they had 100% slow release fertilizer, and we talked about this in the past, but if they want to put out their fertilizer in January, then go ahead, you know, because it's basically going to sit there until the weather warms up, and they're not busy in January. They've got time to do it, and it'll start kicking in as the weather allows. Where if you put out a quick release fertilizer in January, you're just, you know, basically wasting your money, and it's not, you know, going to be beneficial to the lawn. Same time, what's great about this is that, like I said, it releases the fertilizer at a rate at which the grass can actually use it. Sometimes with the quick release fertilizer, it's putting out so much nitrogen so fast that a lot of it gets wasted. I'm gonna hop on my ride-on spreader, get a little filming here of me putting this fertilizer out. We're gonna keep checking on the lawn, and I'm hoping over the next month, I'm doing this on, this is getting late August the 19th, I believe it is. So hopefully over the next month, I get a lot of these little Bermuda sprouts to really take off. And then again, this fertilizer will still be there next spring, hopefully, and we'll be able to start pushing the grass again come next April or so. Of course, that'll depend on the weather, and thankfully, fertilizer's smart enough to know that when it's cold, it won't release. When it's hot, it will release. What's great about this fertilizer does what it's supposed to do sometimes, even if the people applying it don't know what they're doing. I'm not saying that's me, I'm just saying the fertilizer will do its thing even if you put it out too early. Thanks for watching the video. I'm Jason Creel. I hope these little green pearls do their thing and get this grass growing. You can see how these little green sprigs are finally starting to kick up, but we desperately need some rain. And fortunately, there's some rain in the forecast. I got a feeling when it does rain, there's going to be a ton of these things start shooting up. These little bitty green things will start spreading and make something happen on this lawn.